once you've hired an agent, you're going to be signing a listing agreement where you are hiring that agent to exclusively represent your property for rent for a certain period of time. I'm going to quickly go over the rental paperwork. I will link these listing documents down below for you to review. These are the standard rental documents for listing a property for rent in the Hudson County MLS. So I'll just go over them with you here. There's three main forms. There's going to be the property description form, which is the description of the property, all the facts and features about the property go here. The other form is the actual agreement called the exclusive right to rent or lease agreement, which is basically the agreement or contract between you and your agent. That also outlines the rental price as well as the fees involved with renting, and I'll go through that with you shortly. And then third document is what's called the Attorney General Housing Discrimination Letter, which basically goes over discrimination in rentals in New Jersey and the laws against discrimination, which you will have to sign as well as part of the listing process. There's also lead paint disclosure forms, which I will go over in the next video. If your property is built prior to 1978, you will have to disclose any knowledge or reports of lead paint, but I will discuss that in the next video. Regarding the residential rental listing agreement, the first form is the property description form, which basically is the address of the property. Is there a lead paint form? Will you allow pets? Is credit required? Will a sign go up? Will you allow a sign? Will it be on the internet? As far as information regarding how many bedrooms, baths, kitchens, etc., that all goes here. Who is paying certain utilities? What is provided by the landlord and what is the tenant responsible for? What's included in the apartment and what's excluded in the apartment? For example, if the property is being shown furnished, but that's the furniture of the owner or the previous tenant, that would be excluded. But what appliances are being included? Does the tenant have to bring their own refrigerator, etc.? That all goes here, as well as any sort of additional facts and features about the apartment. That all goes here about parking, what kind of heating is it, what appliances are included, is there a city view, is it near a PATH train, what amenities it has, etc. That all gets ticked off here and signed by signed by the landlord and their agent. The other form is the exclusive right to rent or lease agreement, which is basically the listing agreement, the period of time which you are hiring your agent to represent you in renting the apartment. And there'll be a start date and an end date, the address, which company are you hiring, what is the rent price going to be per month, and then finally, who is paying the fee? What is the fee? Who is responsible for paying the fee? There's usually several ways the fees can play out. Traditionally, the fee is equal to 1 month's rent paid by the tenant. I have seen situations where the landlord pays the fee if they want to rent it much faster, especially if there's a lot of supply in the market and there's a lot of competition. The landlord sometimes will pay the fee to expedite the rental process. I have seen it where they split the fee 50-50, where half gets paid by the tenant and half gets offered to be paid by the landlord. That is all up for negotiation, but that has to be laid out here in the agreement. I have seen some rental prices be 10% of the gross annual rent. So I've seen that stated. Whatever the fee is and whatever is agreed upon has to be stated here in the agreement. Also, what is the date the apartment will be available? What's the possession date going to be? For example, it's going to be available July 1st. Well, we have to put a possession date of July 1 in the listing agreement. What this says in here is that if during the listing agreement, the start and end date, expiration date, the property does not rent, but we bring you a tenant who applies and you reject them or pass on them, but they end up renting from you privately after the listing expires, we still have the right to be paid on that person unless you were to list with another agent, at which point the agreement is null and void and the new agent's agreement takes over. So that will be in here. And usually that is a period of 90 days or a negotiated period of time in which that payment period can come into play. Also on the form, it says how we represent. So in this, for example, I would be representing Walter Burns as authorized representative of Keller Williams City Life Realty is acting as a landlord's agent or a dual agent if the opportunity arises. And I went over that agency relationships in a previous video. and then you would sign, and your agent will sign the form as well. What this says down here is that how much of the fee is being offered out to a cooperating agent to bring us their tenants. So, for example, if the lease is 1 month, if the fee is equal to 1 month's rent, is one half, for example, being offered out to the other agent who brings us the tenant? Is a certain percentage being offered out? And that would go in the multiple listing service, how much is being offered out. From my experience, it's usually half. So one half of the fee gets paid out to a potential tenant's agent, because it may not just be me showing the property. It could be any agent who's a member of the multiple listing service who has access to the property, who could potentially show it to their customer. Finally, the third form is the Attorney General letter, which basically goes over discrimination in housing in New Jersey and federal law, and you must be aware of that, and the Fair Housing Act, and you will review and sign and date this form as well. I will link these down below, and as I mentioned, in the next video, I'll discuss the lead paint disclosure forms. If you have any questions, my number is 347-448-3766 or walter@livingonthehudson.com. Thank you.